There we are. I've just done today's mood diary entry. Knackered. Well, I've had such a busy day. You see, this morning I popped into the doctor's to thank him for the advice about the Well Woman Clinic. I think he was a bit surprised to see me again so soon. Surprised and depressed by the look on his face. "What do you want now?" he said. Well, he had a great bedside manner, so I told him I'd read this article and I was a bit worried. And could he please give me some advice about the change? "Were you thinking of moving surgeries?" he said. And, you know, I thought he looked a bit hopeful for a minute, but I said, "Don't be silly, doctor. I'm talking about the change of life. What's going to happen to me?" Well, then he asked me whether I ever felt depressed and did I have hot flushes. I said, "Only when I leave my central heating on, doctor." Then he asked me if I'd mind telling him my age. I answered truthfully. I said, yes, I would mind. But anyway, he got the nurse to wheel my notes in and he took a quick look at them and said my time was up. But he did send me away with all these fascinating leaflets to read. So, let's see what it's all about. Living with the menopause.
Although the menopause is a natural event in a woman's life, over the years it's been surrounded by mystery, old wives' tales, and a great deal of apprehension. The truth is that most, but not all women, do experience some physical and emotional problems during the menopause, but it certainly isn't an illness. These days, many women can expect to spend a third of their lives after the menopause, and it can be a wonderful time of your life. Understanding what's happening to your body is half the battle, and in this program we'll be finding out what the menopause is all about and what options there are for treating the problems it can cause.
The menopause, or change of life, happens when the female sex hormones fall, the estrogen levels. And this causes your periods to stop. Perhaps the periods get lighter, more irregular, and then eventually stop altogether. The usual age for this is about between 45 and 55. Some women sail through the menopause with no problems at all. But 4 out of 5 do suffer the classic symptoms of the menopause, which are hot flushes, night sweats, mood swings, anxiety, a bit of irritability. And for half of these women, they suffer really quite severely with these symptoms.
It started off with hot flashes, which were really rather awful, and night perspirations, and emotionally unstable. I'd cry at rather silly things.
The worst thing was the hot flashes, which came many times during the day and just made me feel completely ill. I'd set off for the shops and think, oh, I can't go on, I'd have to come back home. So they really took over my life completely.
The horrendous thing came at night, when the whole body would be just bathed in, not perspiration, just sweat.
For those women who do experience problems during the menopause, over the last few years there have been vast improvements as far as treatment is concerned, particularly in the field of hormone replacement therapy. Much of the pioneering work into hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, was carried out at the King's College Hospital in London. Today, the Amaranth Trust, based here at the Churchill Clinic, is staffed by specialists trained at King's College, and the Trust acts as a national menopause charity. The idea of hormone replacement is to top up the body's level of estrogen. This can be given either in the form of tablets, a cream, or patches attached to the skin. Nowadays, another natural hormone, progesterone, is also given to women receiving HRT, causing monthly bleeding like a normal period. For some women, this treatment can prove to be very successful.
Most women, in fact, are currently taking HRT to relieve distressing symptoms such as hot flushes and night sweats. And of course, many ladies will also have, along with these physical symptoms, some emotional problems. Many ladies in the middle years complain of loss of confidence, poor memory and concentration. They can have mood swings, they can feel very tired, and a lot of these emotional symptoms are due to the fact they're not really getting a proper night's sleep while they're flushing and sweating. But also the lack of estrogen will in fact affect a woman's mood and her confidence, and therefore many women can benefit substantially from taking HRT.
Val Lewis suffered from the common symptoms associated with the menopause. For her, hormone replacement therapy has proved to be successful.
My menopausal symptoms started about 6 years ago. I put up with them for 2 years before asking my doctor to help me out. I expected this treatment to work. If it was going to work, I still had my doubts. I expected it to work maybe within 2 or 3 weeks, but within 4 to 5 days, the palpitations at night had stopped, the sweating had stopped, the flushes in the day had stopped, and joy of joys, I could get on a bus and go to town again. And from that day to this, I've had no flushes, no palpitations, and I can travel anywhere. And of course, the added benefit is that the osteoporosis fear is at bay, because I'm 5 foot nothing tall. I can't afford to lose an inch. So that was also a reason why I wanted to go on HRT.
Hormone replacement therapy does appear to be an effective method of combating osteoporosis. This is one of the most common health problems that can affect women after the menopause. The condition causes bones to become less dense, and it's a problem that affects women in particular.
Well, osteoporosis is a disease that develops with increasing frequency as we get older, and it does occur in men, but much, much less frequently than in women. It basically develops in women following the loss of hormones at the menopause, so that the older a woman gets, the greater her chance of having osteoporosis. So the disease is most common in elderly women in their 70s and 80s, but nevertheless there are middle-aged women who will have osteoporosis, whereas it's very rare to find that in men. The problem with losing bone density is that as the bones get thinner, then they become more liable to fracture, and that's what people mean by brittle bones. So that with continued loss of bone density, the risk of fracture actually increases steadily and at an ever-accelerating rate. So that eventually, by the normal lifespan of a woman, by the end of that lifespan, her chances of having osteoporosis are probably 50% or perhaps even greater. The research into the effects of HRT and osteoporosis is now well established, and we are confident that we can reduce the risk of fracture and the development of osteoporosis quite considerably by using hormone replacement therapy.
There's no doubt that for some women, HRT can be a great help. It's even been argued that all women should receive HRT, but there are good reasons for not prescribing it indiscriminately. Women taking HRT may have a slightly increased risk of certain cancers, and other long-term risks are still not yet fully known.
Hormone replacement therapy can be very valuable for some women who are suffering severe menopausal symptoms. They may find their lives incapacitated by their sweats and depression and anxiety, and for them it's really the answer. But hormone replacement therapy isn't a cure-all for everything, and it's certainly not a magic cure to keep you young forever. And many women and their doctors feel that that they would be reluctant in taking long-term medication indefinitely, with perhaps no idea of what the long-term consequences would turn out to be.
Heather Charlton has been a model since the 60s. Like most in her profession, over the years she's taken great care to look after her body. When she reached the menopause, she was reluctant to have hormone replacement therapy and looked for other ways to cope with her symptoms.
I think that when we have something wrong with our bodies, we immediately go towards drugs without looking at other ways of getting better or feeling better. I was quite fortunate in a way. My body doesn't tolerate drugs very well. So over the years I've had to find ways of actually getting better without them. And I found that you actually in the end have no side effects. And exercise and diet gives you a healthy body. It will actually cut out a lot of the everyday problems. And I think that if you have the right kind of diet and the right kind of exercise and you maintain it, there is no reason why you shouldn't actually get the best out of your body. The body's like a machine and it's got to be looked after.
One of the biggest health concerns for women, particularly as they get older, is breast cancer. About 1 in 12 women will get it, so it is a common problem. But these days, early detection and effective treatment mean that women with an early cancer have a very good chance of being cured.
Please.
Although breast cancer can occur at almost any age, the hormonal changes that are part of the menopause mean that a woman's chances of getting breast cancer increase greatly after the age of about 50. It's for this reason that a national screening program has been set up, although doctors don't yet know the full long-term benefits of this sort of screening program.
Thank you.
I wish we knew what the value of screening is. It's a very difficult thing to estimate. You certainly don't prevent people getting cancer by screening them, as you can with cancer of the cervix, when you can definitely prevent cancer. But at least you can detect cancer at the very earliest stage, when the chance of cure, whatever anyone says, the earlier you detect it, on the whole, the chance of complete cure is much higher. A mammogram is an X-ray of the breast. It's just like any other X-ray, like an X-ray for a fracture or for anything else. What happens is that, of course, as you have 2 breasts, you have to have 2 X-rays. The breast is put on a plate and then momentarily squashed while the picture is taken, the X-ray picture is taken. That is uncomfortable. There's no question about it. It's not pleasant, it's not comfortable, but it's only momentary compared with the advantage of having it done. I do think women ought to become conscious of the value of looking after themselves. Now, this, of course, there are many things they should do. We know that we should tell them not to smoke, we should tell them not to get overweight, but I think we should tell them to be conscious of any changes that there are in their body, which might indicate some sort of serious condition. In other words, we want to encourage the new phrase, breast awareness, that a woman should be aware of her breasts, and that if she notices any radical change in them, she should go to her GP, who can refer her to a breast unit for investigation.
For the 1 in 12 women in this country who will get breast cancer, their chances of being treated effectively have been increased by improvements in surgical techniques and by developments in the field of drug therapy, particularly the drug tamoxifen.
Women with breast cancer should know that treatment nowadays is much nicer than it was 50 years ago. It's become more humane. It deals with women on a personal basis much more easily. So the major surgery that women used to be offered is no longer considered to be sensible, and it's rare to find a radical mastectomy being performed. There's been a lot of interest recently in tamoxifen, and tamoxifen's an old drug. It's been around for 15 or 20 years. The things that women should be aware of are, first of all, it's terribly, terribly safe. It has very, very little toxicity. And second of all, women who take this medication have a survival advantage against those that don't. There are specific reasons why it may not be advised, but they're pretty uncommon, and there's been a very interesting major analysis that's been published in this year's Lancet, which is an overview of 75,000 women treated for breast cancer in trials of tamoxifen, and an amazing result established that maybe 100,000 lives are saved on a worldwide basis over a 5-year period of time by women taking this agent.
Although drugs such as tamoxifen do hold out a great deal of hope for the future treatment of breast cancer, some women still face the loss of a breast or mastectomy. This recent fashion show was held at Grosvenor House in London. By using women who've been treated for breast cancer rather than professional models, the aim of the event was to show that it's still possible for women who've had a mastectomy to look and feel attractive.
Many women cover themselves up after breast surgery. Many women aren't even sure that they can wear ordinary clothes. They also feel that everyone can tell that they are now different. But we can help them and we can reassure them that they can wear the clothes they wore before the operation. I think some women are afraid that having a breast removed or having part of their breast removed will in fact diminish their sexuality. I think this is very much an individual thing. If you are secure in yourself and your sexuality is something rooted in you as a woman, then having a little bit chopped off won't actually touch the essential you. If you are a little unsure, then it is possible that you will feel insecure. But women are whole people, and sexuality comes from within, and it's part of you in the same way as your personality is part of you.
One of the models at this fashion show was Barbara Weiger, who had breast cancer 12 years ago. Although she did have to make some changes immediately after her operation, she now leads a full and active life.
The thing I really wanted to do was to get back to work, because I thought if I was leading my normal life, you know, things would fall into place. And I actually did go back to the work that I was doing when I discovered the lump, but couldn't cope with that because there was a lot of physical. I was a laboratory technician and there was a lot of, you know, big wiping down tables and things like that, which I actually couldn't cope with initially, because your arm is a bit stiff to begin with. And so I didn't work for a little while, but then I had an interview, a job I'd been waiting for with the local education authority. And when I knew I had to go for a medical, I thought, that's it, you know, that'll be the job gone. But she was wonderfully understanding, the medical officer that I saw, and I got the job. And I worked for 4 years there, and that helped enormously. I think the thing that I feel most passionately about over this whole exercise is that it's really important to go when you think or suspect you've got a lump. Although we are still scared of, you know, the fact that it might be malignant, it might be cancer, it's much better to have it dealt with when it's a small lump. It's much, much more successful, the whole treatment regime. And after all, the sooner you've had it diagnosed, the sooner you're treated, the sooner you can get on with the rest of your life.
Apart from specific health concerns that women have about the menopause, there's another often unspoken worry. That is that once past the menopause, we'll be regarded as old, unattractive, and treated only as grannies.
Well, I think that the fact that there are figures like Joan Collins or Elizabeth Taylor, who are older women, who are very attractive, who are sex symbols or whatever, is a good thing for women because it makes them feel they're not necessarily going to lose their attractiveness. But actually, I have to say, I think that that's less useful than seeing other much older women still being active in the public arena. And, you know, whether it's people like Gloria Hunniford, or it's Judith Chalmers, or it's Margaret Thatcher, or whoever they are, they're people who've got it together and are carrying on functioning at an older age than the old youth culture would lead you to believe. And I think that's very important for women. It makes them feel that they can carry on, they can be feminine, and even if they're postmenopausal, it's really all right.
This positive view of life after the menopause is one that's endorsed by Choice magazine. It's aimed exclusively at the over 50s, a time of life that many people now refer to as the third age.
If you see age positively and vibrantly, I hope my children will see age in that way, because that's the way I want to be in my third age. I am in my third age. If I have that view, then they will have that view. If I saw old people as people unable to do anything, then I would have that view. But I don't. I see them as being very positive and being very able and an essential part of society. But if the messages are to be believed, the one to believe is do it yourself. Make that third age for you the greatest time of your life.
The idea that you have to be young to take part in exercise is far from true. I'm in the middle of a class where the youngest participant is 64 and the oldest is 81. And for this age group, exercise is a trend that's on the increase.
Friends of mine are surprised that I'm, at my age, going to these sort of exercises. They think once you've reached 60, you shouldn't be doing all this sort of thing. But I've really enjoyed it, and I found the benefit of it.
Sometimes I come to class and think, oh, it's no good, I can't do it, I can't do it. But once you've started, the circulation goes round, your brain and everything, you feel uplifted.
All that worry for nothing. It seems nowadays you can go through the change with barely any trouble at all. You've got your HRT, Jill Gascoigne, you've got your B6, your